Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Well, welcome back to Wild with Robyn LaVassaur. I am going to talk about the big old topic of burnout today. Now, a lot of people have felt burnout, and the root of burnout, if you really think about it, is being on an empty tank or feeling empty in what you're doing. And the reason that your tank is often empty is because you are lacking filling it up. And so the most important key in general is self-care. And I say it all the time. Imagine trying to drive the most beautiful car in the world, right? Like stepping into, let's call it your dream car. I happen to love Range Rovers, so let's call it a Range Rover for the sake of this. And you own the Range Rover. It's a beautiful car. Everything is great. And you go to get in it, and there is no gas, or the battery is empty. And all of a sudden, it just doesn't drive, right? So your love for that, in general, that car, it starts to dissipate, right? Because you can't use it correctly. We as human beings are no different in business in general. Burnout is often from a couple different things. And I'm going to give you a couple tips that I would love if you had pen and paper to write down that really, really help me understand myself. And one of them is actually a podcast that's done by Patrick Lencioni. He wrote the book, The Advantage. And one of the parts to that book is a piece that's called The Working Genius. The Working Genius. And you can go into The Working Genius and take a quick test. I think it's a few bucks. I won't trivialize it, but I think it's less than $20. Very worth it. And it will tell you what your G for genius zone is. And what that means is that you have a competency zone, you have a frustration zone, and then you have a genius zone. Your genius zone is also known as your joy zone. How do you gauge that when it comes to work? Well, I will tell you, in any given day as a loan originator, you might do something like be out in the field all day long and seeing people and talking to people, maybe doing a few presentations, and you come back and you have had the best day possible. You are happy, happy, happy. Well, the reason for that is that you were able to work in your G zone all day long, meaning that you are in your genius zone. If you are at the office digging through emails, searching through guidelines, working on a file, and doing too much of that, it might be your competency zone, or it might even be your frustration zone. You can work and will have to work in all three zones at any given time. The question is, what's the ratio? What's the ratio of how much time you spend in each one of your zones? Because if you're not spending enough of your day in a G zone, enough of your week, if you will, in that G zone, you for sure are going to start to experience burnout and frustration. So that's just a side tip to all of this. The other part to it is, how much are you not only pouring into yourself, giving to yourself, but how much generosity are you giving to others? And I want to really challenge you on that question, because I will tell you, oftentimes when I feel like the world isn't going my way, when I'm frustrated, when I'm feeling like I'm lacking maybe a purpose or a passion, I'm feeling that burnout or frustration. It's two different things, and sometimes in parallel and sometimes individually. One is the self-care piece. Hey, I've gotten up and I've skipped my workout too many days this week. I haven't written, journaled, read, maybe listened to maybe favorite music or podcast. I haven't filled myself up with things that bring me joy. But here's a big thing. I love listening to music. I'll give you this example. I love listening to music. But if I only listen to music, and I don't sometimes listen to a podcast or something that fills me from a knowledge standpoint versus simply a joy, right? Value, I always say it, and I'll say it again: time, joy, money. Those are the three large overarching categories when it comes to value. When I am pouring into myself, but I'm not giving myself any knowledge, but then I come into the office as a leader and I want to share knowledge with people, but I've only listened to music and watched TV at home. I've skipped my workouts. I've not done anything there. And then I come to the office and all day I'm just getting bombarded with maybe questions and loan stuff. And I'm in my email and I'm not in my G zone. that burnout is going to creep to the high heavens. And so you've got to start every single day by filling your own cup, and your cup needs a few different things. For sure, we need fuel in terms of exercise and self-care, yoga. It doesn't have to be vigorous, right? We need something in that space. You need something that feeds your mind. While exercise might clear it and help it, you need something that feeds and fuels your mind, your creativity, your knowledge, your willingness to share, whatever that may be. Support yourself in that space, right? Now, music does a lot of great things and puts me in a great emotional state, but it's a well-rounded picture when my mind feels strong, my body feels strong, and my heart feels strong, all three. And so what are you doing to fuel every area? And then when you get to that office, how much time are you spending in that G zone? And what do you have to give because you've filled your tank up? So is self-care saying, I need to stay in bed all day and not do any work whatsoever and, lay here and watch movies? I would argue the answer, controversial or not, no, it's not. I don't know about you, but anytime that I've done absolutely nothing to try to refuel, the answer is I actually didn't fuel with anything, right? When I do nothing to refuel, I didn't get any fuel, period. And that might have been, I did a whole bunch of nothing today. That doesn't mean never rest, but it is so incredibly important that self-care also still comes with self-engagement, right? Doing things that will help you feel stronger in general. And again, heart, mind, and body, all three, because that's when you're going to be able to run a high-powered business. That's when you're going to be the best version of yourself. That's when you're going to become motivational, inspirational, ideally aspirational to other people, is when you've balanced all three of those things, and they see you working the most in your G zone. And so you're wanting to possibly delegate and build a team that can take on your frustration zone and your competency zone for the most part, and you can stay in that G zone. No different in a relationship than when you see, and if you've ever read the 5 love languages, it talks consistently about the fact that if you are not speaking your partner's love language, or no one is speaking yours, whether it be love language in a relationship or love language at the office and in work, if nobody is speaking it, if they're giving you gifts, but they're never giving you words of affirmation, and you love words of affirmation, you're not getting filled up by the outside world. So the other way to avoid burnout is make sure that not only you understand and know who you're working with and for, but they also understand you. Because if they understand you and they're invested in you, they will help fill your cup, which will then mean you have to fill it a little less yourself, right? And so incredibly important when it comes to burnout. I could give you 100 other suggestions. What I will tell you is that our minds are strong. They are powerful, and they require things. I loved something that happened with the Oregon Ducks, and you guys know I'm pretty passionate about that football team, but Dan Lanning did something, and I forget the effect that he called it. And essentially we'll call it a, kind of a puppy effect, where if you ring a bell and the dog is used to getting a treat when you ring the bell, they're going to shake their little bottom every time the bell is rung. Well, let me give you a different example. What if every time the bell was rung, they actually had to get put into a kennel that was cold and dark and away from all people? Every time that bell was rung, likely the puppy is going to bolt because they're not happy about where they are headed, right? What they're doing. Treat or dark kennel, the bell is how it's programmed to them, right? The bell is how it's programmed to them. Why does that matter? Because if you are thinking, I'm dreading going to work, you're programming yourself to say dark kennel, right? With that bell, the alarm clock, the I'm getting out of bed. If you are saying instead, my alarm clock went off, excitement, ready to serve. I understand my why. I'm passionate. I got to go get all my fuel so that I have plenty to give away to everybody and come home still full, exhausted possibly, right? A little tired, not the perfect day, but man, did I overall feel purposeful. That's what matters. And so make sure that you are programming your bell, if you will. And when I referenced the Oregon Ducks, one of the things that the coach did that was so brilliant was he said, hey, in the third quarter, most teams have a song that plays. So if you're a college football sports fan, kind of like the 7th inning stretch in baseball, in the third quarter, they're going to play a song. In Eugene, Oregon, it's Shout. Everybody sings Shout at the third quarter. In Wisconsin, I believe is where they were playing, the Ducks were playing, it is the song Jump, Jump, Jump. What he said to his team was in the third quarter, no matter what we are doing, no matter where we are at, when that song starts, I want you to get loose and have fun with it. I want you to jump around. I want you to seize the moment of being in that stadium, of being on that field, of where you were at. I want you to enjoy that song. I don't want it to intimidate you. I don't want it to be a distraction. I want it to be fuel for you. I want you to react in a great way. Now, here's what's funny. The Ducks were losing that game. And when the third quarter song came on, it triggered because of how he had programmed the bell, and everyone started jumping around. I'm sure that people thought the Ducks were crazy. You're losing. Stop jumping and dancing to the other team's third quarter song. But he had programmed them to say, this is our song today. This is us getting loose. This is us having fun. They went on to win the game. And so remember that how you program your bell when it comes to burnout really, truly matters. Yes, you have to back it up with the practice and the preparation and the heart and the mind and the body being strong so that burnout is minimal, possibly even non-existent. I can't tell you the last time I was burned out. Sometimes I go a little crispy, but I know exactly how to refuel to bring myself from a place where I never truly go into that deep, dark burnout. If this was helpful, I hope you share it. We'll see you on the next Wild.